Hi guys! And welcome to another episode of To My Younger Self,
the #1 support network for students and graduates.
Made by young people for young people.
It's Alicia here.
And it's your girl Praise.
And today we are joined by girl boss Alyssa Banner, director at Astellas. She's worked at other firms like PwC, managed consulting in the Met Police as well. Started your own consulting firm, and she's a mom. She's absolutely killing it, and she's one of my mentors as well. Like, she just does absolutely everything.
And
so really excited
it's such
today.
a pleasure to have
An
you with us
absolute
today.
pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So first things first, to get started, to get the energy going. We're gonna start off with the first segment, which we call the vibe of the week.
Okay.
So essentially, I'm going to ask you, what's been your vibe of the week? And it's basically a recommendation. It could be a book that you've read, a recipe you've tried, a place you've travelled to. It could be anything. It could be a song you've listened to, a movie you've watched, any recommendation that you think you'd like to recommend to someone here listening.
If you want me to go first, how you think?
Yes, you go ahead.
All right, so my vibe of the week this week is actually a quote from a very, very wise woman called Praise. And the quote is, remember who the fuck you are. That is vibe of the week this week. Because
No fair.
It's a good vibe of the week because I'm going through some personal stuff at the moment, and I feel like it's very easy for this to happen, to lose your confidence and your spark sometimes, because there's so many things you can compare yourself to, whether that's on social media or your friends might be doing a bit better than you or whatever that is. And I feel like as humans we just always make comparisons, and it's good to sort of stay grounded and remember who you are.
Okay,
So
I like that. Well done.
I started journaling, I told you, didn't I? And that's a quote right on the front page.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Okay.
Cute. Doesn't have to be as deep as that.
It could be anything.
It can literally be anything. Mine is usually a movie, actually.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting. Oh, God, now I've got 3 things that have come to my head. The first is after 20 years, literally 20 years I've been in this country for, 20 years of searching for a good American chocolate chip cookie recipe. I finally found one.
Really? Nice.
Yeah, it's Ottolenghi's chocolate chip cookie recipe online using self-raising flour.
Yeah.
So that has revolutionized, rocked my family world in the past week.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, that's really nice.
We've had chocolate chip cookies almost every single day.
Oh, that's so nice.
So that's one. The other one, kind of in line with what you were just talking about, is I just discovered this book called The Daily Stoic.
The Daily Story.
Yeah, which it's really good.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard of it.
Because I do not have a lot of time.
I'm gonna write it down.
Yeah, between work, having 3 kids, and then we've also just moved into a new house. We moved from Wimbledon into Surrey. So I do not have a lot of time to read. But this little book is awesome because it's maybe 3 paragraphs.
Yeah.
And then each page has a date, so you start on the date. And it's just a little meditation on
really nice.
Determination, perseverance.
No, okay, we'll go through purchasing now.
We're both putting that in our Amazon basket. And everyone listening as well, definitely check that out.
Yeah, and then so I think that's been amazing recently.
Oh,
and
that's
then
really nice.
The final thing is my husband and I watched Guy Ritchie's latest film on Amazon Prime last night.
What's it called?
I think it's something about ungentlemanly warfare.
I haven't seen that
But
one.
it's got Henry Cavill in it, and it's really good. It's
He's
really,
a
really
good
good.
actor.
Yeah.
I'll be watching that as
watch
well.
that as well. Praise what about you? What's
I
yours?
think my vibe of the week, it's matcha.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But the reason that I would recommend a specific drink, which is a white chocolate matcha.
Is this one from Blank Street?
From Blank Street.
Yeah.
But you can have it from anywhere. Okay. I just want everyone to try matcha. It could be a matcha cookie, it could be a matcha cake, but matcha in itself, I've been loving it.
Great
I don't
benefits
like
for you.
matcha. I don't. Yes. I really like chai latte, but I've tried matcha and
okay.
I'm not a fan. I might need to try it again though.
Yeah.
Because I feel like even with iced coffee, I didn't like it at first, and then I gave it a proper chance, and I was like, what was wrong with me? Like,
Okay, fair.
Nice.
I think your taste buds develop.
Yeah, as you grow. So you mentioned in your vibe of the week that you're from America, or you teased at it with the cookies.
Yeah.
So we're actually gonna take you back there and start there. So you started at Boston University, didn't you, where you did your undergraduate?
Yeah.
And then you moved to LSE for your masters.
Yep.
Could you tell us a bit about your time at Boston and then your journey from there?
Yeah, it's really funny. When I was in Boston, I was studying international relations because I really thought I was going to be a lawyer. I thought I wanted to go into human rights law. Yeah.
No. Sounds like plans changed.
No.
Yeah, exactly. And then, I mean, Boston University was a good school. And I had some, like, it's so interesting because sometimes you feel like you float through life and you feel like, nothing's really happening, anything like that. But then, you know, you never know when it's going to happen, but sometimes you can just hit a crossroads.
Yeah.
And so that happened to me my kind of senior year at BU. I did like a study abroad in Washington, D.C.
Oh, nice.
Where I got to work.
That's really nice, actually. That's cool.
Yeah, I got to work for a human rights charity. And then I also got to work for the district attorney's office as a paralegal. So they were internships that were kind of weaved into my last year. And that's when I was just like, I do not want to go into law.
Yeah.
Like, this is not how I want to spend my life or my time or anything.
Yeah.
Thank you, no thank you.
So I feel like work experience is really important.
But I'm intrigued. What in particular was it about it? Was it the hours? Was it the...
Oh, no. No. I mean, it's really funny because looking back at those internships, I'm probably very lucky that I got to have them because I got to see like real life.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, you might think that you are seeing real life when you are seeing things on the news and you're seeing news clips and things like that. But I can remember, for example, when I did that internship for the human rights charity, I can remember seeing for example, we had hundreds and hundreds of pictures of the massacre, from Saddam Hussein's regime.
I see.
Oh yeah, that's
Just really unedited, unblurred pictures, and then it was just kind of like, okay, you know. So I was really faced with. So what was really pivotal for me about those internships was not being faced with the realities of these things. It was like the feelings of powerlessness and helplessness that, like, you know, this is going on and you can become part of a machine that is trying to address this, but it is a machine nonetheless, and it moves in its own way at its own pace in its own time. And I was just like, you know, I am not sure. I am not sure that that's how I want to contribute to the world in this way.
That's fair enough. It's quite similar to me in terms of why. So I'm going down the commercial/corporate law route. I couldn't handle just seeing like it's real people and it's their lives, especially with like family law. I just couldn't imagine myself doing that. To me, I'm like, how do you come home every day and just be normal? So that's why I changed my mind.
It's crazy. I feel like we've all had a similar experience in that sense as well, because before going to LSE, I really wanted to go into politics and was keen on being an MP. And then I did a think tank experience in my first year with a few of the leading think tanks in the UK, and it just completely put me off. Because I think before you always have that idea of because I want to have an impact in whatever I do and help people. That's why I naturally thought politics. But when I was in it, I was just so disillusioned with the impact that you can actually have in the public sector in the UK. And it just, the type of people that were there as well really put me off. But I think we'll come to this later as well, that you can really have an impact through private sector, everything you've done with your mentoring and everything.
Absolutely. A key thing that I always say is that there's more than one way to be successful. There's more than one way to make an impact. You know, there's more than one way to touch the lives of others. And, you know, just because you have your heart set on something, you know, since you were small, you know, that might not actually be your end all be all. Like, you know what I
exactly.
mean? You need to have a certain amount of flexibility and open-mindedness, I would say.
Even something like this, I mean, even if there's only like 5 people listening at this point,
Yeah.
that's impacting 5 people
Exactly.
who are listening. So
It's impacting me, so I'm one of them. For sure.
exactly. Okay, perfect. Then you moved to LSE and you changed your course. You went into economics, right? Was it industrial economics for your masters? What we wanted to know, like, what made you change from IR to economics? Was it that sort of thinking in terms of being disillusioned with the human rights?
And also, what was the reason? Like, what were you thinking when you decided you would move through to London, like for university?
Okay, yeah. So, yeah. The move to London was because I did my whole last year of my undergraduate as a study abroad. So the first semester I was in Washington, and then the second semester I came to London, and I fell hook, line, and sinker in love with London. To this day, I love, like the love that I feel, for the city of London. Like one of my favorite things in the whole world to do is to just walk, like just literally walk through different parts of London, different neighborhoods with all the different characters, and
that's really nice.
I love it.
I think it's hearing someone else appreciate London,
I love it.
which makes me think, okay, maybe I should be more.
Well, I appreciate it more as well because I'm from Leeds, whereas because you're born here, it's like very, very different.
Very different. Very, very
just
different.
Like you don't see it like that, but I feel like it's so safe and it's safe compared to other parts of the world in America, and it's just so beautiful.
Beautiful,
it is beautiful.
Exactly.
At night.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I mean, I know, like, to this day, if you drop me off in central London, like, I know it. Like, I will find out. I know it because I just walked all over London, like, over the years. So, yeah. And after Boston University, I ended up going into consulting, which was, just totally not what I thought I was going to do probably when I was in undergrad. But I went into consulting, and I was like, okay, like I actually, I like this. I this is good. But it's so funny. This is one of the things I want to make sure that I stay connected with you on, is that being a young consultant can be so anticlimactic, especially if you were really good in school, and you were, kind of on top of your schoolwork and at the top of your classes. When you go into consulting, like, God, I remember like back in like my day, like, you spend so much money on your education as well, right?
Yeah,
like so much money.
So expensive.
And then you get this job in consulting, you feel like you're arrived, and then, you're in a meeting taking notes. It's like,
I see.
what?
Yeah,
Like,
I
what?
know what you mean.
Yeah, so I was just like, this is,
Yeah.
this is a little bit different.
This is not what I signed up for.
This is a little bit,
Definitely.
I don't know if it's going to be like that for
I think
you now.
I think
Have you
at my
started
firm.
working yet?
So I started February.
Okay.
I've got quite a long break, but when I was on the internship, I was surprised with my firm at how much responsibility they gave us as interns.
That's good.
Like it was a lot. Like we were actually like one of the projects I did, I literally delivered the video from start to end that was presented to the CEO.
Good.
So like major responsibility. So I feel like that's a good sign that hopefully I won't be in that position, because sometimes I feel like you complain in those moments where you have too much work, but when you don't and you're on the flip side, you can't grow as a person.
That's right. Yeah, that's totally right. And I do think that if firms are giving interns and like new grads more responsibility, that's a good thing. Like, because I know when I first started, I was just like, oh God, is this what I have studied for 4 years for? And then I remember thinking like, okay, maybe a master's degree will help me out, because maybe I just need to kind of expand, broaden my horizons.
I also feel like that's a good way to do it though, because that's what I want to do, is take a break in terms of the career and then go back into the masters, because then you actually know what you want to do as well.
We should definitely talk.
Because
because one of the things I would say, particularly if you want to work in business, is and I've said this with like the students, the LSE students that I mentor as well. You want to make sure that you're using a master's strategically, right?
Yeah.
So I would urge a little bit of caution for anybody that's thinking about doing a master's really close to having graduated from undergrad. I would kind of be like, okay, so what's motivating you?
Yeah.
What's the problem that you're trying to solve with this master's?
Yeah.
And I would just kind of help that person think through, will this master's actually solve that problem for you? And the reason that I say that is because, like, I think it can be really disorienting when you first graduate from undergrad.
True, and you're not a student anymore.
Yeah, you're not a student. You're working, you're paying your own bills, you're figuring out your own life, and it's really disorienting. Yes. Sometimes people, they try to run back to masters. But I would just kind of like urge, kind of patience and caution. Yeah, because
there's a term for that actually.
Oh, is
there's
there?
a term,
Panic masters.
Panic masters.
Yeah. I have some friends that did a panic masters.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, because it's like when you feel like you've not got a grad job and you just
don't
feel
know what
scared,
to do.
and then
You just run
rush
back
into
to
doing a master's.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah, but that's an interesting topic as well. Actually, really interesting topic.
It is, because I would argue that if you want, if you've gone into business and if you want to work in business, regardless of whether you want a standard career or regardless of whether you want to be an entrepreneur, the chances are that at some point, like further down the line, you probably are going to actually need or want an MBA. For the network, the connections, and you want to strategically position when you do that MBA. So you don't really want to end up in a situation where you're doing a master's and you're paying for a master's, and then in X number, years down the line, you're going to then need an MBA. So.
For those listeners that are listening, and I'll talk to you about that more as well with the MBA, because I definitely want to do one. Yeah. But for the listeners that don't know what an MBA is, do you think you could like briefly explain what it is?
Yeah, of course. So an MBA is a Master's of Business and Administration, I think it's called. And basically, why MBAs are important is, there's so many different reasons, and a lot of it can depend on your background. So like I'm a perfect example. So even though I've studied like international relations, I've studied economics, I have never studied business, I have never studied general management. All the business skills that I have been learned on the job as a consultant. And what happens is particularly when you develop a specialism. So my specialism is business change or business transformation. So I've developed a specialism, but it leaves you with gaps. Okay. So for example, like on the accounting and finance side, I've never really specialized in that. And so what an MBA is going to do is just give you just like a set of core skills.
I like that.
I never knew that.
I didn't know that as well. Yeah,
how long are they?
It really varies. So I have actually just gotten accepted to do an MBA at work. I think my course is 2 years, but you can expand it. So yeah.
That's really, really helpful, I think. Yeah. Very helpful. So then you, like moving away from your education and into your career, so you mentioned that you started out as a consultant at a big name firm, and we just wanted to talk to you about that, because I feel like, it's probably the same case for a lot of unis across the UK, but at LSE particularly, there's a pressure to join a big name firm as soon as you graduate, but as you mentioned, like you felt a bit lost in the system and wasn't getting much responsibility, but later down the line you switched from a big name to a smaller name. What do you think the benefits of being at a smaller company is?
Oh, that's a good question. That's such a good question. So, yes, names. Okay. That's a really good question. Yeah. So I started off at Towers Perrin back then. It was called, I think it then subsequent mergers became like Towers Watson. I don't even know what it's called nowadays. And then I went from there to PwC after graduating LSE. And
it's a big brand.
Yeah. And it is true that I did transfer to a smaller, lesser known consulting firm. So, and if I had to explain the reason why, it is this. So when you work in consulting, this is like a downside of consulting. So consulting is great for many reasons. Like you get exposed to loads of different companies, different industries. different issues and
Yeah.
projects that you couldn't have imagined, didn't
Yeah.
learn about in school, and you're
That's
just
true.
there, you're in it, you're on the fly, you're figuring it out
Yeah.
with your team.
Yeah.
So consulting is great from that perspective. Where consulting, I think, can be challenging is, you don't have control over what you are working on.
Yeah, true.
And you don't have control over where you're working.
What project they put you on, nothing. Yeah.
Not the projects, not the clients, not the location.
That's so true, yeah.
And sometimes that can be wonderful.
Yeah.
Like,
Sometimes it's exciting.
Yeah, because you sometimes literally you're like, what country am I going to be working in
Yeah.
next month?
Yeah. True,
And
true.
when you're young, consulting can be great because you can
Yeah.
get to see the world.
Yeah.
But where it really started to like kind of fray for me was it's always been like having a family has always been really important to me.
Yeah.
Like having a family, having children, having stable relationships, and that's where it started to fray for me. And
I mean, even on the relationship point of view, it's very difficult if you're traveling all over the world and you've got projects where you're in the office till 1 a.m. Yeah, definitely.
Yep, exactly. And and so that's the reason why I ended up switching away from those kind of big name consultancies, because I wanted more stability and I wanted more control over the types of work that I did and where I was, like where in the world I was.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And do you feel like you got that through moving?
For sure. I definitely did. I sort of towards the end, so I went from PwC to BT Global Services, and then that's actually where I met my husband.
Oh, that's actually wow, that's fate then, isn't it? Imagine if you didn't move.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Yeah, so he was a fellow consultant, and I mean, like,
Will your husband listen to this episode?
He probably won't. Yeah, no, he probably won't. But I met him, and just like absolutely like fell hook, line, and sinker, like fell for him, and then and then that's when I ended up just working through my own consulting firm. So,
that's perfect.
How was that experience? So we wanted to find out like what was the thought process behind deciding that you want to start your own consulting firm, and like what were the challenges or even like the highs and lows of that, because I feel like anyone, to be honest, you don't need to be young, there's always going to feel like that fear towards starting something by yourself or just putting something out into the world and not knowing how it will be received. So how was that experience for you?
Okay. So basically I set up my own limited company and began working as a contract consultant through my limited company. At the time, that was an amazing thing to do because it gave me not only the control that I was looking for and the lifestyle that I was looking for, the stability that I was looking for. It was also extremely tax efficient at the time. So buzzword number one for me, tax efficiency. Tax efficiency, kids. So if that's like something that's like a buzzword that I wish that somebody had sat me down and spoken to me about when I was younger. So contracting through your own limited companies nowadays is not as desirable because they've changed the tax laws. So that's one thing that I would encourage anybody listening, like any young person with a career, particularly a corporate career, like you need to be mindful. You need to have an awareness of taxes, taxes, and tax efficiency.
I think that's a really good piece of advice. Something that I definitely want to thought of as well. I like that.
A
gem.
I'll come back to that because it's so, I think it's so important, particularly for like us as people of color. Understanding how to be tax efficient. It's key to building generational wealth, which I think is something that's really important for, you know, young people of color in particular. So in terms of the highs and lows, so that was definitely a high. Just like having the freedom and the control to say where I worked, when I worked, what I worked on was great. All the accounting, I hated it. I hated all the accounting and paperwork.
I can imagine.
Yeah, but I never, you know, the other thing that I would say as well, though, is like when you work independently, like when you work for yourself under your own name, like you will need to work. Like,
you have to,
you're not hiding, you cannot hide behind the name of a firm or the name of a team.
True. Yeah, true.
You need to build up your own word of mouth.
True.
Yeah.
And so no, I did that, and I had a great run as a independent consultant.
I have a little sub question on that.
Yeah.
Because firstly, you're an absolute inspiration. You know that you inspire me anyways. Like starting your own consulting firm or starting your own anything, that's an absolute dream to get that freedom. But one of the things I thought about when you first told me that you started your own consulting firm is building up the clientele and the networking that must have had to gone into that, like behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So do you have any sort of tips for people in terms of networking and personal branding to get to a stage where you can even start your own firm?
That's a really good question. It's so different now. It's so different now compared to what it was like when I was younger, because social media is just, I mean, it existed when I was younger because I'm a lot older than I look. But it wasn't a thing the way that it is now. And the whole concept of subject matter expertise and influencing, it wasn't a thing. Like at the end of the day, you had to be good and be known to be good, and you had to know the right people, basically, to have that good word of mouth. So even
it's about who you know, not what you know.
It was kind of, well, no, I mean, it's definitely no. When you're an independent, that's a let me touch on that. Let me touch on that because that's really important, because it is about what you know. And when you're an independent consultant, like, you need to be able to learn at an exponential rate. So one of the things that I always say to like any students that I mentor, particularly who are recent graduates, your development is your responsibility. It is not your manager's responsibility. True. It is not your company's responsibility. It is your responsibility.
That's true.
There are so many resources out there now, like Coursera or Udemy. I think it's called. There's LinkedIn Learning. Like you have got to constantly be upskilling yourself. And that's even more so the case if you're going to be an independent consultant. Like as an independent consultant, you will face things on a project and you're just like, I've never seen that before. I have never done that before. And literally you leave work on the Friday, you learn about whatever it is. You learn about it over the Saturday and the Sunday, and the Monday you go in and you pretend to be an expert.
Yeah, literally. That is exactly what consulting is.
Yeah.
It's so intense.
It is. Yeah. But it's, what I think is nice about consulting though is like, it's a good setup for if you want to, it will help you go almost wherever you want in business, like later on. You know, when you do find an area or a niche that suits you and suits your skills and personality, like consulting will just get you there.
There's a lot of exit routes.
For sure.
Yeah. That's really good. You've mentioned mentoring quite a bit whilst you've been talking. To me, mentoring is so important. Like I wouldn't be here without the amazing set of mentors that I have. But I think it is one of those buzzwords where people don't really know like how to actually secure mentors
or how to approach it.
Or how to even like develop that relationship
with
to the point where it's, you know.
Yeah. That's okay. That's such a good oh man, I could talk about this for hours, because let me talk about some mistakes that I made in the past with mentoring. Oh my God, a huge mistake that I have made in the past is assuming that just because someone either looks like me, sounds like me, or maybe is in the same stage of their life as me, that they are automatically going to be a good mentor. That's not the way. Like just because somebody looks like you or is also a mom or also came from the same background, that doesn't necessarily mean that that person is going to have your best interests at heart.
Yeah.
So what I always say, like, you know, to the students that I mentor is like two things. So one is, how does somebody make you feel, and what is the connection like? But I think another thing is bad mentors as well. I probably have learned more from having bad mentors.
That's interesting.
Well, maybe not more, but bad mentors have played like a key role in my life. Like, you know, there are definitely a few people in the past who have, you know, asked to be mentors, and then, you know, it is going to be the case sometimes that you get close to some people and you don't like what you see, you know? And I think that's valuable.
Yeah.
Those are valuable experiences.
And I feel like that
true.
happens a lot where, like, even with the rise of, like, the age of social media now, like, you can perceive someone a type of way because of how they've presented themselves online. But coming face to face and having a conversation, it doesn't match up. Like, who you've seen online doesn't match up to the person right in front of you.
Yeah.
I think as well, it's a difficult one, but I feel like you'll never, or you shouldn't, surround yourself with people where you are 100% the same and 100% think the same.
Yeah.
Because I think with all of my mentors that I have, all of them are very different, so I'll go to them about different things.
Yeah.
Some of my mentors, they're fantastic when it comes to like investing questions or careers questions, but I know when it comes to more family matters or things like that and navigating, you know, like coming from like my background, I know through my career I'm going to have to support my family. That's something I have to factor into, like when I'm saving each month to save aside to help my family out. You know, some of my mentors aren't going to get that. They haven't lived through that experience, so I wouldn't talk to them about things like that. So I think like you said, it's about having like a different set of, I don't know how you, like a board of directors or something, you know. Yeah,
Absolutely.
well, that's really good. That's really, really good. Okay, next thing. Do you want to go into the next segment, Phrase? You do.
Well,
You're the
I've
expert.
honestly really learnt so much from
Yeah.
you. Genuinely,
Well,
like, even just, I'm not joking.
Yeah, actually, before you go into the final segment, because I
Yeah.
didn't mention this, so I met Alyssa through Sabrina, so shout out to Sabrina, thank you for building that connection. But also, we did an event together, didn't we? The fireside chat with LSE Advancing Black Careers Society, which is a society that I was president of last year. And when we had that fireside chat, I just loved it as well. I didn't feel like there was an audience, it just felt like I was talking to you, because I feel like even just your accent and the way you speak, I just love it.
I'm like, wow.
And my dad was there, so you met my dad, do you remember?
I did,
And he really enjoyed that event as well. It was really helpful, so thank you.
Thank you.
But yeah.
So now we're going to go into our segment, which is called Blind Rankings.
Okay.
So we're going to give you like 5
Yeah.
different things, and you need to blind rank them. And the topic for this one is modes of employment, like, or working.
So basically, you have to rank them from 1 to 5, but you won't know what comes next. So
It's your personal preference.
Yeah, so if I say to you football, you might put that as number 1, but you might not know basketball is coming next, and that's actually your favourite sport.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
I think I got it.
Yeah. Well,
So first one is being employed at a big firm.
so we spoke about earlier, like your big fours, your MBBs.
And what is it? What's the category that I'm ranking it?
So you rank it from 1 to 5. So 1 being like
Best.
that's the best form of working, or the best thing to do after you graduate, and then number 5.
Oh, right after you graduate.
Yeah.
Okay, that's helpful context. So right after you graduate. That's a good question.
Yeah. Go into a big name.
I might put that at 2.
Okay,
Good.
Fair
Interesting.
we shall see. Okay, then the second one is being self-employed. So like contract work, freelancing.
And this is right after you graduate,
Yeah,
right?
I think that's
May
important
as well.
context. Yeah.
I would put that potentially. I would put that maybe at like 4, maybe.
Okay.
Okay, and then third one is being employed with a side hustle, so like a side business.
Yeah. So
That's like what me and
right
Praise
after you
do,
graduate.
kind
Yeah. So I have to remember the numbers I've already chosen.
We've done 2 and we've done 4.
4.
Okay.
It looks like you're putting your middle finger up.
Later, the side hustle. I'm tempted to put that one at number 1.
Fair enough. I probably would have.
I like
Keep
that.
going.
Just 'cause
And
that's what
then
I'm doing.
we've got running your own business.
Straight
Yeah,
after
I would
cooking.
say 5. That's
5.
5.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then employed at a small firm.
What's left?
We've got 3.
Yeah, go for 3 for that.
I think that's a really
Yeah.
good ranking. I
Yeah.
think that's good.
Because I just know, and you'll find this when you start working as well. Like, you know, when you're at a good school, you feel so proud, and you know, there are all kinds of benefits that come with, you know, going to a good school. Then you start working, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
So
It is like, you know, when you start working, it is like, can you get the work that is in front of you done today?
Yeah.
Like, and what you'll find is that, like, yeah, nobody cares. And also, there'll be other people working at that company who maybe aren't from such brand name schools. It's just very different. Like, the whole field is very different when once you start working.
Yeah.
And it really is going to come down to, can you get this job done?
Yeah.
And it's going to come down to, you know, what experience do you have? And the reason why I put the kind of big names as being important is because early on in your career, they are important.
Yeah,
like,
that's
I
true.
hate to say it, but they are important, you know, and I know this from when I was like an independent consultant. It's like, you know, when people are looking at my CV, they're like, well, what clients have you had?
Yeah.
Who have you worked for?
Yeah.
You know, have you worked for Jane and Bob's Donut Shop, or have you worked for GSK?
Okay,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%.
But I do think that, you know, I do really, I think the whole side hustle thing, and I think the new levels of entrepreneurship in
our generation,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing. It's to be encouraged, but I think, you know, if you really want to be able to take something and grow it into something meaningful, because, you know, when you have your own company, like, there's an element of luck, right? Never forget the importance of luck, right? Because it's a real thing, it's a real factor.
Hopefully we get lucky.
But if you want to build beyond that,
true.
you need experience.
100%, yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much. Thank you. And then do you want to...
No,
do you want me to do it?
go
Okay.
ahead.
All right, so we've literally got 1 minute left. So to round up each episode of our podcast, in theme with the name of the podcast, we ask each of our guests, what is one piece of advice that you give to your younger self? So what is yours?
Have fun. So have fun and make sure that you make time for love.
Yeah,
so
I love that.
That doesn't necessarily have to be a relationship. It could be love for your family, for your parents, for your friends.
Self-love, yeah.
Totally self-love, but like, you know,
Yeah.
people, you need love in your life. Like, I do think...
I like that.
Yeah, sometimes kids are just like, I want to be like
Yeah.
Elon Musk, or I want to be like...
You like tunnel vision.
I
Yeah.
really like that.
Make time for love and to find love in your life.
Oh,
Amen.
I love that. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you
This was
so much.
beautiful episode. Perfect.
It was great.
Thank you.
It
Yeah,
was great.
absolutely perfect. Thank you guys so much. And thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode.
It's been
Oh yeah, sorry. It's been your girl Alicia.
and it's been your girl Praise. That's not what she says. And
Alyssa Banner.
Yeah.